kid-sized cooking. Now we're gonna call it kid-sized cooking because that's what it has been on the channel this whole time. But this is not gonna be a traditional kid-sized cooking because we're actually gonna be in the video this time instead of behind the camera directing the video. And today we have a really great recipe for you guys. We're gonna be teaching you how to make homemade bread. I think it's important and timely that we teach you this because everyone's running out of food in the grocery stores. We've been going to grocery stores, there's no bread, there's no meat, there's hardly anything left. So you can make food for your family and you can make bread with very few ingredients. You only need yeast, flour, oil, salt, sugar. So
water.
And water. So there are things that you can get pretty easily. I don't think the stores have been running out of yeast yet, at least. So we're gonna show you how to do it today. It's my mom's recipe. She knows it by heart and she's been making our bread forever. She made my bread for me my entire life growing up as a kid. So it's a really good recipe, really easy, and I hope you guys love it.
So the first thing we're gonna do is put in the water. Now we have pre-measured 2 cups of water, and this water is warm like baby bathtub water. If you put it on the inside of your wrist, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's just that nice warm. So go ahead and put that in the bowl. Now, to that 2 cups of water, we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of yeast. So, at home, I usually measure out of a giant yeast container, but here we have these packets. So I'm gonna have the boys open the yeast packets and we're gonna measure them to see how many packets we need.
So we're gonna measure until we find 3 tablespoons using these little packets. Looks like each packet's almost a tablespoon.
So it looks like it takes a little over 3 of these packets. They come in a 3-pack, so you're gonna have more to do another project another day. Now we're gonna take, this is the fun part, because we wanna proof our yeast and help it grow. So we're gonna take a tablespoon of sugar. David, you wanna get a tablespoon of sugar, just plain old granulated sugar, and sprinkle it over the top. And this doesn't have to be an exact measure, so it doesn't matter.
Like that.
Try not to get it on your brother's arm.
So we sprinkled 2 tablespoons of sugar over the yeast. You can add more or you can add less. It depends on how sweet you like the bread. So if you're making a sweeter bread, you can add up to 1/4 of a cup. But 1 tablespoon is what you need to get the yeast rising. So gas bubbles are gonna form in here as the yeast proofs. If you look closely, you can see that the yeast is proofing. It's sending up gas bubbles through the surface and then it breaks on the surface. It's kind of fun to watch. And then it grows. You can see as it's growing and bubbling. That shows me that the yeast is good and ready for bread.
Also, she mentioned if you have extra yeast, if you buy those little 3-packs, we're gonna do another video that uses yeast. So if you buy it to follow our tutorial, you will use it.
That's right. You can make pizza dough, cinnamon rolls, bread rolls, and all kinds of breads. Now we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of oil. Now we're gonna add a teaspoon of salt.
The next step is to mix.
Okay.
Ooh, can I make?
Here you go, Chris, you can mix this
You can
part.
both have a turn.
Yeah, you have plenty of turns.
Ooh, that looks so satisfying.
Look how it's bubbling, the yeast. So now we're gonna add the flour, but we're only gonna add 1 cup at a time. If you add too much flour, it gets really hard. But if you add not enough, it's too soft. So we add 1 cup at a time just to see how the dough is looking, okay? And I'm also, here, you wanna stir while I put it in? David, you wanna put it in? You put it in.
Sure. And then Chris will switch. Yeah, then we'll
Okay, and you stir that flour in. Now this is going to be 2 cups of flour.
You can see how the color of the mixture, even with just the yeast, is already like the color of your bread. It's nice because there's no dyes or weird things in it.
Not quite a full cup, but
I can
that's
get a tiny bit more because I'm over.
all right. Now, who wants to put in the 4th cup?
I will.
This is what it looks like after 3 cups of flour.
So don't dump the whole cup in. Dump about half of it in, and let's see how that gets mixed in. We want to make sure it gets mixed in really well. A little bit more. Okay, so that's about 3½ cups. There, now you're a professional baker.
Wow.
Okay, what do you think? Is that dough starting to come together?
Yeah. Pretty thick.
It looks
And
a lot drier.
can you see how elastic it looks? See how it's sticking to the sides of the bowl still?
Yeah.
So we're gonna add that last little bit of flour. So that gives us how many cups? 4 cups. I think 4 cups is gonna be just about right. Is it getting harder to mix?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, David? You wanna try?
Sure.
It's probably a little harder now.
Oh, it's very thick.
It changed quite a bit from a little bit of liquid to a lump of dough, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think by the feel of this, we need about 1/4 cup more flour.
Yeah, we might know.
Now, here's the part that scares most people. Depending on the weather, you might need a little more or a little less flour. So that's why I add a little bit at a time until the dough gets the right consistency. If it's really humid, you sometimes need a little more flour. And right now it's pouring down rain, so we have a lot more moisture in the air.
So when you feel the dough, if it's a little tiny bit sticky, you just add a little more
You just
flour.
add a little at a time. It gets hard to stir, and so that's where we're gonna turn it out on the countertop. I'm gonna show you a couple of tricks. One I learned from a master baker, and he taught me this one trick of how to make your bread perfect every time, so I'm gonna show it to you. Don't tell the rest of the world though. It'll just be between us, okay? First I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on our counter, which we pre-sanitized so that it's nice and clean. And we're gonna just put this bread dough on this little bit of flour. Now you can see that this dough is still pretty sticky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sticking to me pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sticking to you? So that tells me I need a little bit more flour. Now as I knead it, flour is going to get kneaded into the bread.
So you want to
know
have it
this?
not too
Can I
Yes, now let
hard
me show
and dry
you.
in your bowl
When I took
before
it
you start
out,
to knead it.
remember how it stuck to my hands? Now look, when I knead it, it's not sticking to my hands. Okay? This is the fun part, the kneading.
Can I
Now,
try it?
this is the trick part right here. Because I don't want to put a lot more flour in my dough is just about right, okay? When you touch this dough, look how it springs back up. And it doesn't stick to my hands. So I washed my hands so that you could see that the dough is dry and doesn't stick to my hands anymore as I knead it.
The only
Now
thing on our
this-
hands is the flour.
Yeah. Now this is the trick I learned from the master chef. Because the more flour I add to my board like this, the more flour I'm getting in my dough. And the tougher my dough will be, and it won't make nice light bread. This is still sticking a little bit, so I'm putting a little more flour here. Okay, there we go. Now the way to knead, okay, I turn it, I basically fold it in half, and then I push down with both my hands. See how I did that, boys?
Yeah.
Okay. And you see I'm just adding a little more because it's still sticking, just a little more than I want it to. Now you can knead the bread as much as you want. The longer you knead it, the more it breaks up the gluten and builds up the gluten in it, makes a better bread. So I usually knead mine about 10 minutes. Okay. David, do you want to give it a try first?
Sure.
All right, here you go.
That's cool.
Now remember what I said, fold it in half. So you're gonna fold it in half and then push it down. So, fold it in half, take the palms of your hands, push it down. Turn the bread, fold it up, push it down. All right, you wanna try it, Chris?
Yeah.
And now take the palms of your hands and push down. Okay, the idea is you have to push really hard.
Chris, I think he's a good bread dough mixer.
Okay, not with your fingers. Try not to use your fingers. You want to use the palms of your hands.
Okay.
So, you're going to take it, watch what I do. You take it and turn it, and then pick it up, and then push down with your palms, okay?
Oh, so like
Yeah. Let me show you this trick. Because I don't really want to put any more flour in here, what I'm gonna do
Can I make plastic in it?
is I'm gonna put just a little bit of oil on my surface and smear the oil around. Okay? Now my bread is not gonna stick to my surface or my hands, but it's not gonna absorb any more flour. So when I was a little girl, my grandma used to just keep adding flour to the bread. But when I met this master chef, he told me put oil on your counter and finish kneading your bread on the oil, and your bread will always be soft. Ever since I started doing that, I've had great bread. Now let's see how much Mommy remembers from when she was a little
Whoa,
girl.
you're good.
Good job, Christine.
That's good.
So what more work than you think kneading your bread?
Now we need to put a little more oil down. Feel good?
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're about done. What do you think? You think it looks like it's about ready?
Looks good.
So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna get it kneaded into a nice round ball. And because it's already been kneaded on oil, I don't need to oil my bowl. I'm just gonna take my hand, and get some oil here, kind of put it in there. I'm gonna put my ball right down there. Now what do you think we're gonna do?
Make tiny balls and put it in the oven.
No, now
Let it sit.
we're going to cover it and let it rise. And then when we come back, it's like magic will have happened, okay?
What would happen?
It's gonna rise. It's gonna rise up to the top of the bowl.
That's cool. Really?
That's what the yeast does.
I thought-
That's the coolest part.
I thought
And then
we-
we're gonna punch it down. That's the most fun part.
Can I punch it? Can I
Sure.
punch it?
Okay. Let's go to let this take a rest and we'll clean up all our stuff, okay?
Okay.
All right. This is the fun part, okay? I'm gonna let you each do it one time, all right? So as you can see, the bread has doubled in size, so it's grown. Now we get to do something called punch it down. And after we punch it down, a lot of people just take it and do it, but I'm gonna let it rise one more time before we actually bake it. So David, I know you both have washed your hands. So David, you wanna just right in the middle, just go boom.
Oh, ow.
I didn't, well, you weren't supposed to break the dish.
Ow.
All right, you wanna do it?
Be careful.
Okay.
Whoa.
So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take it like this and clean the side of the bowl. And look, it went right back down to the way it started, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
It's back to the same size, huh?
Come on.
And I'm just going to take a little bit more oil on my hand. Okay, and I'm just gonna knead it a couple of times.
The bread dough seems pretty hardy.
It's very stretchy. Look what happens.
It's kind of like edible slime.
Yes!
Edible slime.
All right, so here we go. Nice bread dough. And we're gonna cover it again and let it rise again. So this is the second time we're gonna punch it down. And I think
Wait, she meant
Hand out what?
Christine.
Oh, Christine gets to punch it down.
She started to say Chris, but she was just
I was just kidding.
Christine.
Yeah, it was Christine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, go ahead. Christine, go ahead and punch it down.
Ooh, that's fun.
Whoa.
Okay, Chris, now you
Really
can do it.
soft.
All right, David, you want to do it? All right, so you see it goes back down again. So I'm going to do the same thing, but first I'm going to take these really pretty bread pans and I'm going to put a little bit of oil in them, each one. And then Chris and David, do you want to take a pan and spread that oil around the pan,
hand?
up the sides, yeah. Particularly the two ends, here and here, okay?
Like this?
Because then, yeah, you can take a little piece of parchment paper. And we're gonna put this parchment paper in here, and just like that, and smash it in there. There you go. Put this in, and then with your oily hands, oil the top of the parchment paper. I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. Put a little oil on my hands. Put it on the countertop. Then I'm gonna go and take my dough out. And it's gonna pull away from the bowl. And now I'm going to divide it into two. My favorite thing to do is just grab it and squish it.
Whoa.
And now I have 2 loaves of bread. Okay, so I'm gonna just fold it and roll it a little bit. And I'm gonna just turn it into a football. Okay, and then we're gonna put it in the pan. I wanna make sure I have all the air out. Okay, David, you wanna pick that up and put it in your pan?
Yep.
And we're gonna do the same thing with yours. David did something amateurs do. He tried to smash it into the pan to fill all the corners. What we really want to do is leave it shaped. Now you can knead it as much as you want. It won't hurt at all. Okay, what we really want to do is leave it shaped into this football inside the pan. So I just put it in and let it sit. And then we're going to take it, cover it with our towel, let it rest till it doubles in size, and then we're going to put it in the oven. So let's let it take a nap for a minute, okay?
We're back.
So here's the good news. The bread has doubled in size. Here's the bad news. When we weren't looking, Owen kind of, pinched a little bit of dough. So you can see where we have some little Owen owies. Okay, so now we're going to take our bread. We're going to put it in the oven. The oven is 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to set the timer for 30 minutes.
Our timer just went off, and that means our bread is ready to be tested. See if it's done. Ooh, look at that.
Ew.
Sounds right.
Only do that if you're an adult, of course.
Make sure you look at Owen's cute little place on his bread where he pinched it.
There's where Owen pinched it.
Looks good.
Bread looks fantastic. So we're gonna try to pull up on the parchment paper right now and see if we can lift the bread right out of the pan. If not, we're gonna use a knife to separate it between the bread pan and the bread so it's easier to pick up. So you can tell it's kind of stuck in the pan just a little bit. So now she's gonna use that knife like I said. And then it will come right out.
Well, that's the hope anyway, right?
Yes, that's the hope. There we go. Ooh, look how nice that looks. Everybody's very interested in this good bread.
Yeah, suddenly everybody's come out of the woodworks.
That looks good, huh?
Now, we're gonna let it cool before we cut it. If you cut it while it's too hot, it just smashes down. So we're gonna let it cool and then we'll cut it. So we took it out of the oven, we let it sit for a few minutes with a towel over it, and we took it out, we're ready to go. Everybody's dying, we have some jelly. So here we go. There we go.
Oh, look how perfect.
That's my favorite piece, the end piece.
The end
smells good. Now we have to sample. Who wants to sample?
I
Okay. Is it
That's
good?
good, yeah.
Is it perfect?
Yes, perfect.
The great thing about homemade bread
Good.
is that you're not gonna get any weird ingredients in it, things you can't pronounce.
That's true, there's nothing artificial or preservative in this bread. It's just what you saw.
Yep. And it tastes really good.
What do you guys think?
It's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Delicious?
Yeah. That's so good.
Think we should make it again sometime?
Yeah.
Hey, I have an idea. Maybe we can make cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
We should do that.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, this is good.